Peace and blessings, everybody. I am your brother, Juan Carlos X, at Slatestone Music Online. Welcome to the Plug Room, where you can plug your business, plug your brand. Here at the Plug Room, we are all about community development, which is building people and linking people with people. In the Plug Room, we operate in three different categories, one being community development, the second being audio forensics, where we tap in with any form of audio, musicians, it doesn't matter what the audio format or producer may be. We tap in with them and see a little bit about their story and their path. And the third category is the AU, or the Art Unveiled, where we get with creators and start from thought to creation or finished product on how that came about and what's going on. But again, visit theplugroom.com to find out a little bit more about us. You can hashtag the Plug Room anywhere online. If you find value in the stream, watching it, wherever you may be watching it on social media, let us know in the comments. If you know someone who deserves to share their value and story with the Plug Room, text the word network to 559-791-8468. We'll have somebody reach out with you. Today we have a special guest, a singer, songwriter, musician, who's going to be sharing their story with us, their journey and who they are and what they do. So without any further delay, let us bring up our guest, Toni Ann Semple.
It's Toni Ann.
Toni Ann.
Yeah.
I apologize. How are you doing, ma'am?
It's okay. It's whatever. How are you, Slate?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm great. Can't complain.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So for those who may not have heard of you or don't know you, who are you and what do you do or what are you known for?
Oh, well, my name is Toni Ann Semple. I am a 20-generational Indigenous American. I'm a singer-songwriter, producer, and musician right out of New York, Queens. And I've been doing this for a little bit, but I enjoy what I do, and I love to be able to create and share with the world.
Indeed. So when did music actually become a part of your life? When did that light turn on for you with music and you started vibing with the sounds?
Well, I think it started when I was 12. It started with a book and 6 rubber bands. And I used to sit on in my room. I shared with my sister. I'm one of 10, so I'm the youngest out of the tribe. So my mom used to, pay attention to what I was doing. And one day she caught me sitting in my room. I'm sitting on the bed, just playing a book with 6 rubber bands. And she was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm playing the guitar." She's like, "Oh no, we got to get you a real guitar." So my parents ended up getting me like a plastic, Donnie Maries, one of those toy guitars. And I guess it was just something for her for them, both my parents, to see if I was serious about what I wanted to do. So, I got that guitar, even though it was plastic. I played it, tried to play it, but then it broke in about 6 months. And then the following Christmas, my parents actually got me a starter guitar. So from there, it just started from there. Actually, my sister Bernadette used to actually help me. She was in college at the time. She used to come home and we would, write the lyrics or whatever. But after she went to college, I was like, forget it. I can't be waiting for her. So I just went on with my own journey. So.
Indeed. So starting at the age of 12, rubber bands, books, going to the plastic guitar. Before age 12, what type of music were you exposed to? What genre? What
everything. Because my brother and sisters used to listen to rock, used to R&B, jazz, mainly my parents, jazz, classical music. So I was actually under the umbrella of all types of genre of music because all my siblings had different tastes in terms of what music they loved. So I was really blessed to have it all, compiled on me, and I just be able to, choose exactly what direction I wanted. But I didn't force it. I just, whatever I created, I just wrote it, and then it just became what it is.
So being exposed to those different genres of music at an early age, you mentioned classic, rock, all different kinds, jazz.
Right.
Which one resonated the most with you, if one at all?
I think I think it's R&B, jazz. Those two combo. But the thing that really pushed me in the direction that I am now is what my mother had told me before she passed away. She said that she wanted me to start embracing my Native American roots because she felt that that would separate me from everyone else. She's like, she's like, because we would go to all of in New York, there are like three, they're called powwows. And there's two that still running today, but the ones that we used to go to, we used to go to every one every summer. My parents would take us to go, but the drum was very, very important and very, very nostalgic almost. Like it really moved me. So when we hear the drumming or the chanting, the singing, it was something that I wanted to, connect with, which wasn't a problem to do. But my mother was like, yeah, you know what, you should, maybe you should start adding chanting into your material. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. She said, well, I'm going to show you how to do that. She said she had all the traditional tapes and all the books, which I didn't know she had. And she just gave it to me. And I didn't get it until she passed away. So and that was when I wrote a song called Wakanda, which I know everyone knows that word from the Panther movie. But Wakanda actually is a Native American word for the Great Spirit, which is Wakanda, which means Great Spirit, meaning God. So I just find it weird that Wakanda was considered an African place that people thought would be, or should I say, a place where they said it was, I guess, I wouldn't say pretentious place, but a place where in Africa that Wakanda would be. And then, but I found it interesting because I wrote a song back in '97 called Wakanda, meaning Wakanda every day. So it's basically a song about life is not, life can be rough and tough, but no matter where you go, no matter what you do, and no matter how difficult it can be, God is always with you. So that's where that song came from.
That's interesting. So the song Wakanda that you wrote back in '97,
right?
Is that online? Is that available? And
yeah,
so, how is that?
You can go to my YouTube channel, and you can actually, my YouTube channel is Toni Ann Semple, and just type me in, and you'll see it. And then there's, me. You'll see me with my back turned, with my guitar on my back. You'll see the two, one with just the video, with just the chant, and then there's another video with the whole song in there. So.
That's cool. So who were some of you mentioned that R&B and jazz kind of resonated with you more out of all of the genres of music you were exposed to.
Yeah.
Who would you say some of your musical influences were or favorite artists to listen to?
Yeah. There's so many. Anita Baker, Phyllis Hyman, Chaka Khan, as far as the males, and that's just a few. I mean, Patty Austin, you got Regina Bell. The men will be People Bryson, and I love People Bryson. Ken came later, but Will Downing, and Will Downing, I had an opportunity to work with him for like one show. Jeffrey Osborne, people like Lear, Barry White, Isaac Hayes, those were the artists that I listened to. And later on, Brian McKnight was another favorite that I loved.
Indeed. Now, what made you decide to, I believe that Toni Ann is your birth name,
yes,
or your given name. What made you decide to use that as your artist name instead of doing something different?
Oh, it's just who I am. I didn't want, trying to find a name for what I was doing. It just, to me, didn't make any sense. So, if Anita Baker could be Anita Baker, or Regina Bell could be Regina Bell, Phyllis Hyman could be Phyllis Hyman, I could be Toni Ann Semple.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Now, how would you describe your music to someone who's never heard it and ask you, what kind of music do you make, or what does your music sound like?
It's R&B with a touch of jazz, with a touch of Native American. So, you may hear something may seem crossover, but basically it's just really R&B, jazz, or just, crossover music. It depends on the person who's, receiving it. Because something my mother told me a long time, she said, not everybody's gonna like what you do, but you'll have something for someone. So it just may be a song here or there that somebody would connect with. And but the chanting is a totally different anomaly in itself to be able to do that. And I recall the first time I introduced it, when you're singing a song, you're doing the chant, the song stops, you look out at the crowd and everyone's just staring at you. You're going, okay, this is not going well. But there was a delay there. So it's very spiritual, you know, when dealing with the chanting, what have you. So it's because it's actually taking you somewhere else, you know, in terms of energy. So it took me a while to understand what my mom was expressing to me, you know, that separation from you with everyone else. You know, everybody can sing R&B or jazz, and depending on how well you sing it, you know, if you have something, a different element to what you do, that would be a separation from everyone else in terms of their style. So basically, that's where that came from.
Now, when it comes to deciding, what was the deciding factor for you, or the motivating factor for you to take the path of doing music professionally or having a music career?
Um, it was just it was in just within me. I mean, when I went to college, I met my best friend, and from there, I met a gentleman that worked at Atlantic Records, and it just went on from there. But you know, the main thing is I wanted the opportunity to develop my skills as a producer. As a songwriter, I was told I was a weak writer. You know, I played 4 or 5 instruments, and you know, as the first instrument that I taught myself was, which is the guitar. I was told I was a weak guitar player. So, but that didn't stop me from going forward. I just kept working at my craft, you know, and you know, anyone who knows about working on the craft, it's a lot of hours. You sometimes don't have a social life, but that was not a big deal because I came from a big family and I'm always around people. And so, but that wasn't the, you know, the direction I was saying that I needed to go in. It was just something within me. So I wasn't sacrificing too much because I loved what I do. So when I would write a song, and sometimes create, you know, creation comes in 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So you have to get up or have a recorder or whatever. But me, I would get up and I would just play some parts out, try and record it, and hope that I remember it the next day. So, but that, you know, it's just developing your craft.
Right. Now, when did you first experience the music industry on a professional level?
When I started working with my late manager, that's another story in itself. When I started working with him, you know, it took me a while to really just trust somebody other than yourself, you know, in the industry, you know. And so he worked his butt off. His name is Joe Nix, and he had Fifth Entertainment as his management company, but we were a team. So that's how we went to, you know, we went on this journey where I went out of the country, worked with people here in the United States, traveled all over the United States, certain places in the United States to perform. But even before that, between that, you know, after my mom passed away, I kind of wanted to give it up. So I did. And then I started working at a farm as a cowgirl, and I was entertaining kids. So, and I well, actually, two of my jobs were dealing with children. So, once again, kids were saying, "Lady, you don't belong here. You don't belong here, lady. You should be on American Idol." So I'm like, okay, kids don't lie to you, and when you're performing for kids, it's really hard to. It's not the main thing is to keep their attention. Get their attention for a second, you'll get it for a second, but you have to try and keep it. So I was able to do that. But the funny thing, we talk about 5 and 6 year olds, when they tell you that, you know, you don't belong here, so you kind of have to think that's a little message from the heavens above. So, and then I called my manager at the time, and I told him, look, maybe we should try this again, and we did. So it took us, you know, to Japan a couple of times. I actually released 2 albums over there. I didn't release them over here. And then during that time, we started working with putting together like a 3-piece band for me. So it was just my bass player, myself, and we added the drummer to the mix. And we decided to call it Toni Ann Semple Life. And we were doing really well. We were traveling. We were being asked to come to do shows like at Brown University. They had a festival. We were actually doing extremely well, and then unfortunately in August, right after we finished our album, Joe passed away. Soon right after. So that took me for a minute, and actually I haven't done anything until this very moment, to be honest with you. So it kind of sends, um, you know, him offering me the opportunity to be with Third Eye and part of In Groove and Universal Music. And now I'm starting to get back into what I love to do. But it took me 4 years to get back to and really deal with that situation, that loss.
Yeah, and sometimes, as a musician, I believe, or my opinion is, you have to take your time, and let things just flow naturally. Take a break sometime. You can't just constantly grind, grind, grind. And but if the music is a part of you or it's in you, it'll always be there. It doesn't matter. There's not an age limit or age restriction or time frame on your music unless you make that kind of music.
Right.
It's always going to be timeless. It's always going to be new to new ears who've never heard it. So I can understand that. Looking back at all the many years you've been doing music, learning, young adolescence to your first guitar, to college, to being exposed to the industry, what's a lesson that you learned that stuck with you, and why did that lesson stick with you, if you don't mind sharing?
No, no, not at all. I believe that you have to really just be yourself. Don't let anyone come along and tell you who you are. Don't let them deviate you from what direction you want to go in. Because I've had so many people tell me, what do you want to play guitar for? Why don't you stand up? Because I play guitar keys, I play Native American drum, I play Native American flute, and I used to play trumpet, and kind of miss it. Well, I got switched over to the flugel when I was in high school, but I had stopped playing with it, and that's because Thelonious Monk Jr. He said, Toni Ann, you are an incredible songwriter. You're an incredible vocalist. He said, but you know who Miles Davis is? I said, of course I know who Miles Davis is. He said, you see that his lip, the top of his lip? I said, yeah. He said, you see that nipple there? He said, yeah. I said, yes. He said, well, you have a nice mouth. Let's keep it that way. Because if you keep playing, that's exactly what's going to happen. I was like, ugh. But the flute was a little different. Has a bigger bell on it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll revisit. Maybe not. But I really do miss playing the horn. So, but the thing is, be yourself. I mean, because no matter what, when you get away from the stage, when you get away from the studio, it's just you sometimes. So you have to really be honest with who you are. And if you can live with yourself, if you're going to alter yourself. I mean, I've been told, oh, you need to put a weave in your hair and you need to dress provocative and, less clothing. For what? Are they looking at me or are they listening to what I'm doing? I mean, that's the whole point. If you're listening to my craft, then you're being receptive to that. So why do I have to change my clothing to whom? And then what? Is it only people that look like us that have to change the color? Because white artists can go on the stage with jeans and a shirt. So why is that acceptable for them and we can't do the same?
Right.
I'm not saying going on stage look, sloppy, because I never do, but there's always this double standard that you have to look a certain way to appeal to whomever they're saying that you have to appeal to, and then they get to wear whatever they want. So that was the greatest. So that's something that my mother told me a long time ago. She said, "Be careful of who wants to be around you, of who want to be around you because of who you are, not because of what you do." So you'll have plenty of people who are going to want to be around you because of what you do, and not really know who you are. So that was the greatest lesson, one of the greatest lessons.
Right, and a good one, and a good jewel too. To protect your energy. My question that breaks off of that is, in being yourself, of course, there's different aspects or dynamics to being yourself, and as far as where you can apply that. So when it came to you and producing music or being in the industry, knowing that you could play multiple instruments, knowing that you had a sound or a certain format or production that you heard in your head with your songwriting, how did being yourself, I guess, transition, or how did that work in producing your music? Was that hard, getting somebody else to play those instruments or doing those other parts when you knew you could do it, or did you do it all yourself?
No, I think it's great when you, as the artist, when you're actually in front, you can actually, if you write something, and I have a really great, um, um, she's like the one of the best keyboard players and music directors that I know, and she has played with everyone. But I would just put piano, and she would take it, rearrange it, and then to hear it back to you, it's really phenomenal to hear. It's like, wow, that's your interpretation of what the bass is going to sound like. And I have a great bass player, Freddie Crash Jr. So he would take whatever I wrote and he would actually make it even better. So it's always nice to receive that or have that experience. Like, because I could be in the studio all day, put the whole track together, but to get some feedback on the interpretation of what that specific song is about is really extraordinary. It really is. So it's a lot of fun. But also when I was going through what I was going through, I had, it's a male dominant. Now it's not as much, but at the time it was, male dominant producers. So when they heard that I do my own tracks, they were giving me when they heard the song, they would say, "Oh, this is nice," or whatever. But when they heard that I did everything, then they wanted to critique it.
Yeah.
So I had one situation where I sent a CD. The guy was like lukewarm to it, and he didn't, it was like, "Oh, it was nice," whatever. So I sent him a second CD, and I just told him that it was another guy, a guy by the name of Michael Baby. I used that as an alias. I've never had to use that because what's the point? You know what I'm saying? So I sent it to him, and he responds to me like maybe 2 weeks later and says, "I don't know who this Michael Baby is, but you need to stick with him. He's phenomenal. He's a great writer and producer." Until this day, he doesn't know it was me. So those are the things I had to deal with. Or someone said, "Oh, I heard females do it, but I didn't hear them. I didn't know that they did it that well." I'm like, but my mother told me, she's like, "You need to do your stuff yourself. Do not rely on everybody else because you will be sitting there waiting for people to do stuff for you. So if you can do it." This is what she told me and my friend Merlin when we were in college. She said, "Do it yourself. Do it yourself. Be self-reliant because when it comes down to it, if you have stuff that you want to get done, you want to be able to do it yourself. You don't have to wait for anybody to do it." And that was it. And so I took that advice and I ran with it.
Great advice. Self-reliance definitely is. Now, in your journey of music, have you ever been signed to a major label or a major contract?
I got signed to Columbia, but because the people I was dealing with, they would not let me go because they put like a production package together. So it was a rapper, it was me, and two other artists. And oh, wait a minute, you know what? I am incorrect in terms of what my name was because I did go by the name of Taz back in the day, Taz. So,
Okay.
and that's only because my brother gave me that name, and I just said, call me Taz, because it's just my initials, Toni Ann Semple. But back then they were like, "Okay, well we really don't want anybody else on the docket. We want Taz." And they're like, "No, you can't have her. In order for you to have her, you have to sign the whole thing." So and I didn't hear about it until one of the producers called me and said, "Taz, I just want to let you know, yeah, they just wanted you, but they weren't going to let you go."
Yeah. Now, how do you feel now in 2022 about being signed to a major label? Is that a plus, minus, or what are your thoughts on that?
Because I think they take too much. With 360 deal, they're taking right now the deal right now. I'll be surprised if you make anything today. You'll get upfront money, yes, but that's really something like it's a loan, and you have to pay that back. So if you get a $300,000 budget to complete your project, you have to pay that back. So in the beginning, it was like, yeah, you can gather, you get money in the beginning, but is it worth it on the back end? So if you can keep your publishing, you can live off that forever, especially if it becomes a hit. And then it takes forever to travel around the world. Well, today it's probably going to be a little bit faster, but that song, whatever you wrote, you can live off it. But now 360, they want everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, that's not. And then they're going to dictate to you what you can't sing, what you can't play. We started, my group and I started So Far. I don't know if you've heard of it, but So Far is like it's an organization that it actually began in England, and they have these where they're called pop-up shows. So they'll have a place where you go and perform, and it'll be you and two other acts, but they have their own audience. You don't have to invite anybody. You just do the show, and it's great because there are other people there, and then you get invited to do other things outside of So Far. So Far was really, really good for us. And we did 3 shows, and we kept being asked to come back. But like I said, we were working on the project with my group, Toni Ann Semple Life. We were working towards finishing up the album, and we did, but Joe passed away, so we kind of had to step back and take a look at what really, what we're going to finish it, but we had to really deal with that blow. That was a huge loss for us.
Indeed. How do you feel an artist in 2022 looking to be in the industry should be maneuvering? How should they move?
Well, I think if they can manage, because I don't know if it's more producer driven like it was back in the day, but if you can actually, get an independent deal, that's probably the best place to start. Because you're gonna either way, the major's gonna, if they see that it's all about the numbers anyway. It's all about how much you make and how productive they feel that you are before they're going to sign you anyway. So I think independently, be able to, there may not be money right now, but I think in the long run, if everything works out and you work hard and do what you need to do, I believe it will pan out, that it will even out. And that's just my opinion. So I think artists today, depending on what they're looking for, if you're looking to, if you want to be the star or whatever, then, go towards a major league, just major label. But today, major labels, I don't think they have the finances that they used to. You have to be like super duper for them to look at you anyway. And, you don't have room for creativity. They're going to probably put you in a room with a producer that they have, and they're going to get this person to do your whole makeup and do the whole package, and you will not have one thing to say about it. And that's, to me, that's a problem.
All right. Now, what value would you say that you bring the industry with your sound and your music? Not necessarily to the industry, but the world as far as music. What value does Toni Ann bring?
Well, my stuff is, I have to say, it's clean music. I think it's conscious music that it'll touch your soul. Because I believe music creates a memory. It actually makes you feel a certain way. If you're feeling bad, you can turn on your favorite song and it'll take you somewhere. Or if you fall in love, there's a song that, somehow you and your significant other connected with. It just creates I really believe that it creates an environment that could alter your energy, whether good, bad, or indifferent. So, I would like to say I would be the one to uplift you and maybe get you to think about certain things, but just make you feel good, make you feel better.
That's good. We need more of that type of music today, uplifting music that'll make you think, that'll provoke thought. So that's good. What would you say some of your or one of your strengths as a musician is, and one of the areas that you need to work in or better yourself in as a musician?
I would have to say that my strength is probably background vocals, because I like to use cluster harmonies where you actually will feel it more than you would hear it, and it'll take you a while to, you know, when you hear it, you'll feel it first. Um, I'm not the greatest keyboard player, but I get it done. So that's why I have a really great, you know, a great friend of mine. Like I said, my good friend Marlene, she's phenomenal. She's classically trained, but she can play everything. So as far as with that, I would have to say it would be my weakness.
What are you currently working on in 2022?
Well, I'm working on a whole new set of, this is a whole new set of music that I have to finish. And I was telling Sin that I started something last year and I finally finished it. So he'll probably hear it soon, probably in another day or two. So it's like a whole new set of uh, direction of what my music would normally be going in. So we'll see what happens with it, but I'm okay. I'm really happy with it. I'll see once I finish it up where it stands and where it's going to sit. But I also got to go back in time and finish up the project that I have with my group, and that's something I'll be doing in the future.
Now, the music that you plan on releasing here with your new distribution deal, do you have a breakout record, or what record out of the collection of music that you're going to put out right now would you like to be your, or would you choose or say as your breakout record for this time and right now?
Yeah, probably maybe it could be something that I did back in Japan, but I upgrade. You know, I had to go back to one of the Wakanda album, believe it or not. That some like half the album needed to be updated, and so a lot of the stuff I believe can actually fit in with today. So I think I want to start with that and see where it takes me. And there's Native American chanting in it. Some of the songs have it, and of course Wakanda has the song, the chanting in it. So I want to see where that takes me, and to see how receptive the the audience that I'm building on will receive it. So we'll see what happens with that.
Right. How important is networking to you and what you do?
Well, networking is important. It's because it's not about how talented you are. It's about who you know. It's always been that way. You know, you would look at somebody and go, "How did that person get there?" Because who they knew. You know, I had a situation when I was when I was meeting with Warner Brothers years ago, and I sat down with the actual VP of Warner Brothers and a friend of hers, she was a lawyer, had the meeting, set the meeting up, and we were talking, and she said something to me, I don't recall what the question is, and she said to me, she leaned back in her chair and she said, "Toni Ann, you have a strong head on those strong shoulders of yours." And I guess that was the nail in my coffin because she didn't want to deal with me after that. And her friend said to me, she said, "Toni Ann, I hate to say it, but if you were white, they'd be asking you what you wanted." So, you know, it's just one of those things, unfortunately. And I think it's still happening today.
Right. It is. My last question before we end this plug room is, what are your thoughts on the current state of things in the music industry and, yeah, the current state of things in the world?
Well, in the music industry, what I've known it back where it was thriving and it was vital and important. Today, it's like the music is dead. There is nothing there. There's no musicality. The arrangements today, you know, unless you know, I don't know what genre people are listening to, but R&B is not R&B anymore. So, and jazz, we don't listen to. A lot of people don't listen to jazz. I listen to jazz still because that's the basis of where I get the roots of what I do. But that's where the soul is, and the soul is gone. Spiritually, on a spiritual level, we're not listening to spiritual music anymore. It's almost like, oh, it's gone, it's here today. Next year it'll be another sound, and but where is it going? It's not evolving. So yeah, I think the industry is going to have to be redone over, start again somehow, some way. come up with a new genre of music, because today, I don't know. I don't think it's not surviving now. I mean, it's I don't know who you consider the bigger of the artists that, what, 5 years from now we remember, or we remember the song. You know, you got songs from back in the '70s that you still remember, the '60s that you still remember. Those are songs that stay with you. But today, I don't know. I just don't. I don't think it is where it should be. But you have a lot of work to do. You know, as far as I'm concerned. And as far
Right.
as the state of where we are today, I think we're at a precipice. We're dealing with a lot of things today in society. So we have two parties, in my opinion, that don't really care about. We're stuck in the middle, and I don't really care that they care about either of us. So I think it's just all about money, and they have, with us paying taxes, that's a lot of money to play with, and that's what they're doing. They're utilizing for their own purposes and their own greed, and it's been going on for a very long time. Another system, I believe, needs to go down into the tank. Something has to come, because we're still suffering to the same issues that, even if you go back in the '60s or in the '50s, that our black leaders were discussing. It's the same stuff going on today. So has anything changed? It has not. So we need to start over. That's just my opinion.
Right. Definitely need a reset.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your value and your story with us, Toni. If you don't mind, go ahead, take this moment to plug your business, plug your brand, give your shout outs, and let people know where to find you. And then we'll end this plug room.
Yeah, I definitely have to thank Marcel Dixon, who was running for Congress in South Carolina, for really, this is the reason why I'm sitting here talking to you, Slate, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have met Sin. And so that's why we are here today. Because when he posted something on his page, he was talking about an opportunity for FBAs. I was like, okay, I'll send it in, see what happens. And he responded to me right away. So Marcel, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you following through, and to Sin, I feel like we're like sister and brothers that we just never met. He used to live not too far from where I live right now. So he's just like another brother. And the first time we had a chance to talk, we were on the phone for about an hour. So we had a lot to talk about. But anyway, you guys can actually catch up with me on let's see, Toni Ann Semple. Toni Ann Semple, you can get me on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and TA Semple on Instagram. So you can get all my music, all my posts on those four social media platforms. And just, listen in. I have a lot of stuff on YouTube. You can check out my live performances there. And just listen out for what's coming next, which I'm really excited about sharing.
Indeed. Well, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your value. We appreciate you coming to the plug room, and that's it. You enjoy your day.
Thank you, Slade. You too.
Thank you. Peace. Make sure you check out Toni Ann online. Visit her on those different social media sites. Also, at the plug room, we like to share. Don't forget to measure yourself to yourself, not to what to others have done. Always strive to be better tomorrow. Do you, be honest, be creative, and stay 1000. I'm your brother, Juan Carlos X. This is the plug room where you can plug your business, plug your brand. Peace.